This is my synthesis project. I will be discussing terms that I learned this semester and how they relate to one another. This graphic organizer starts off from the first stages of reading development, which is phonological awareness. Phonological awareness is when a student is able to recognize and work with sounds in spoken language. An example of phonological awareness is if the teacher asks the student, "Does hat and sat rhyme?" This skill is fundamental in reading because it can predict future reading success. It is important for a student to master phonological awareness because it allows them to develop phonemic awareness. Phonological awareness allows the student to understand how sounds and words work, which is basis for phonics because the student is already aware of the sounds. Now they just need to connect the relationships between letters of written language and sounds of spoken language. The next set of elements in reading, which is the big five of reading, which includes phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. The next skill is phonemic awareness, which is the student's ability to notice, think about, and work with individual sounds and words. An example of phonemic awareness would be a student separating the word bat into b, a, t. Phonemic awareness is important because students later on will be able to relate phonemes to letters when they see them in written words. Phonemic awareness leads into phonics because it incorporates phoneme and the letter symbols that represent specific sounds. Phonemic awareness is also important in fluency because whenever a student reads, they need to recognize what sounds are in specific words to be able to read them. Phonemic awareness is a building block for reading and the skills that are needed to be an efficient reader. The next skill is phonics, which is the study of phonemes and letter symbols to represent specific speech sounds in reading and writing. When a student recognizes that the letter N represents the sound N and that it is the first letter in words such as nice and new, this is an example of phonics. Phonics helps the student with fluency because it allows them to figure out the sounds to certain words and helps them read at a good rate. The next element of reading is vocabulary. Vocabulary is the words that an individual can recognize with understanding. An example is when a student is trying to determine the meaning of a word like suspicious. Vocabulary is a very important component because it helps with fluency. Since the student knows what a specific word means, it allows them to read the book at a faster pace since they are not questioning what the word means. Vocabulary also helps with comprehension because the student is able to understand what is going on in the book because they know the meaning of words that are crucial to the story. Fluency is the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. Fluency is related to comprehension because the student is able to intonate and understand what is going on in the story without stopping for issues with decoding a word. Comprehension is the action or capability of understanding a book. A student that is able to comprehend a book improves on their fluency because they are able to understand and move at a fluent rate throughout the book. Comprehension also improves vocabulary because the student is able to use context clues to find the vocabulary. The Big Five of reading allows the student to be able to participate in interactive read-alouds, share reading, guided reading, and independent reading. Guided reading is an instructional approach that involves the teacher working with a small group of students who demonstrate similar reading behaviors. The teacher teaches strategies for the groups of students to help them improve on their reading. Some of these strategies include vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. This type of instruction helps the student with independent reading because they're able to read books that are at the student's level. Independent reading is when the student is able to choose their text, such as books, magazines, and newspaper, and read it with no assistance of a teacher. Independent reading allows the student to pick books that interest them while improving on their reading. Researchers have found that independent reading plays a key role in the development of reading fluency and vocabulary. Interactive read aloud is when the teacher is reading a story while pausing to ask students questions. This type of reading instruction involves vocabulary and comprehension for the students to answer the question that the teacher is asking the students to answer. Shared reading is when the students join in or share the reading of a book or other text when supported by the teacher. The teacher helps the student by modeling reading strategies such as fluency and introduces new vocabulary words. Balanced literacy is a curricular methodology that integrates various methods of literary instruction like interactive read aloud, shared reading, independent reading, and guided reading. The reason why every element of reading is related to balanced literacy is because every element is a building block to balanced literacy and allows a student to learn how to read effectively.